Ready? Yep. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Present.
Councilman Cypress.
Here.
Councilman Larkin.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. I make a motion to come out of the executive session. No action was taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Notation the exits in the front and the rear, an electronic device. Please put it on vibrate. Okay, work session. First is a discussion, Brewster Industrial Owners LLC, pilot for the commercial campus at Fields Corner project. Mr. Tartaglia, you wrote the letter, and you can introduce the team. Oh, over here, sir, by the mic. State your name for the record, and the team, and what you're here for.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor. My name is Dan Tartaglia. I'm an attorney. My address is 800 Westchester Avenue, Rye Brook, New York, and I'm of counsel to the firm of Veneziano and Associates, who is representing the property owner in connection with this application for pilot, which is Brewster Industrial Owners LLC. We're here this evening because we've gone through a process with the IDA for purposes of moving this application in order to try to achieve some benefits in connection with this project, which we feel, and the IDA and the IDA chair, William Nulkus here can speak for himself, has determined in a resolution in February that is a significantly economic project for the county and for the town. One of the things that we've requested, which is a little bit different than is in the IDA's UTEP policies, is the duration of this pilot. And I'd like to explain to you the rationale behind that and exactly what we're proposing and how it's going to work. Now, typically, and I'm sure you've seen them before, under the IDA's UTEP policies, the pilot structure and duration mimics Section 485B of the New York State Real Property Tax Law. And what that is a 10-year schedule with a benefit schedule that provides discounts in order to create an assistance for a project. This is, we had originally proposed actually a 15-year schedule, and it was similar to, the reason we started with that is because it was similar to an application that we had in Rockland County for a similar facility with the same client, and that's what we had, the Rockland IDA had approved. When we later found out about this UTEP policy, what we did was we tried to fashion what we were proposing to be closer to this. The reason being, and the reason why we're looking for an extra 2 years on this, is because the project doesn't have a tenant yet, which is a little bit unusual. Usually applications before the IDA are only accepted and entertained when you have either a user in place or a tenant in place as the user. What has happened in the marketplace with regard to these types of facilities is that, number one, they've become very, very competitive. So there are other regions in the Hudson Valley, in northern New Jersey, in southern Connecticut that are competition for this type of project now. Where a number of years ago, these projects were signing up tenants pre-construction. You knew going in who your tenant was going to be. That's not the case today. The construction costs have, as I'm sure you all know, have rocketed. Interest rates have gone up, competition has increased, and tenants that are in the marketplace are moving a little slower. So what's likely to happen here, what we anticipate happening here, is for this project to take some time before it's stabilized. And it's that extra 2 years that we're looking for in order to get the project to stabilize. Once that occurs, we're then looking at a 10-year schedule that's exactly like Section 485B. So really what we're looking for is a 12-year pilot, but really a 10-year discount schedule or benefit schedule that matches 485B. So it's a little bit of a deviation from the UTEP policies, but based upon the resolution and the findings by the IDA, the economic significance of this project and the amount of money that's getting pumped into the municipality and into the county and into the region as a result of this warrants a deviation from that policy. And in our cost-benefit analysis, we identified a number of benefits for the community, including off-site infrastructure improvements and other types of improvements and dedication of land back to the county. I mean, there's like a $10 million package of stuff up front that's going to go either to the benefit of the county or to the benefit of the town or to the benefit of the local economy. So based on that, we submitted our letter here and are here to answer any questions. With me this evening, I have Mr. Veneziano, I have Robert Schenkel, who's with our client here, and Bill Null, who you probably know, who's the IDA chair. So we'll be happy to entertain any questions and answer them as best we can.
Could you, at this point in time, identify the benefit to the town?
If you take a look at what we had submitted to the IDA in terms of cost benefit, I didn't submit a copy of that, but I can summarize it for you.
Just to add on to that, I'd love to hear the whole 10 million benefit you mentioned, not just the town. But
Well, we
Yeah,
know the
well, that-
school gets the biggest, county, and then us.
no, he said there's a $10 million benefit.
Benefit, okay.
So I'm just,
No, first of all, there's over 5 acres that are going to be conveyed to the county. That's at a value of about $800,000. Then there's $6.56 million to undertake major road improvements to the town's Pugsley Road and New York State 312. So there's off-site road improvements that are occurring. There's over $250,000 to purchase and install a traffic light, including carriers. Okay, if my arm was a little longer, Mr. Supervisor, I might be able to see this very tiny print. I'm sorry, including camera and computer per town's specifications. Payment of $186,000 to the town for building code inspection fees, and $65,000 a year, increase annual local maintenance and contracts for grounds, access roads, and HVAC services, whatever all that means. My client could probably take you through these improvements better than I, who was not involved in the land use piece to this, but those are just some of the benefits that are being provided up front.
Thank you.
Is that enough on the benefit package?
well, I don't know if it was open to all of
Just,
us
just
yet, but
your name for the record?
Tony Veneziana.
Okay.
honestly, most of that sounded like, expenses or investments on your part, not necessarily
They're conditions.
benefits.
They're conditions of approval.
Right, but they're not benefits to the community.
You're getting a brand new road. You're getting
But
312 improved, and
It's a
you're
road
getting.
we have to maintain.
It's a road that only serves this property.
Except unless we want to talk about the ball fields that are coming in.
Okay.
So there's a couple $1 million in mortgage recording tax that went to the state, the county, and the town. And there's other fees that Danny articulated. So it rounds up to $9-10 million. And the other thing that he didn't mention is that, the site's, it's 1,030,000 square feet. So it is difficult to lease. He expressed some of the factors in the market right now. So even if we were successful and got a 250,000 square foot tenant, which would be a major success for the initial launch, it's not going to get this to where they need to get it to be profitable. So part of the 2 years is to let them ramp up and get ready to present. And the lion's share, there's very few impacts as far as school-age kids. There's no school-age impacts. And there's very few impacts to the town. So that money kind of flows freely into the town, the county, and that's it. And the school district. School district gets 80% of it. They get the lion's share of it.
I think 83.
What's that?
83%. I have a bunch of questions unless anyone else had any. Can we get a copy of what was submitted to the IDA? I think you summarized it, but I don't think we had a copy. And then we are taking ownership of that road once it's complete, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You had a schedule here of the difference. Well, you had the total taxes that would be paid, a normal 10-year pilot, and then this enhanced, or the proposed 12-year pilot. And the totals on this, I think, are wrong. So I think over the 12-year period, you had estimated 29 million, and I came up with 20 million, so it just saved you $9 million bucks.
That's great.
So you may just want to take a look at that.
Yeah, this was not intended to be the schedule for the pilot agreement. This is just an illustration because the rate is going to flow, and so the rate increases on that whole schedule are just estimates.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the totals are off. I'm just surprised that you guys didn't come sooner than, where you are in the project. I think it's pretty far along. I would have thought you would have come for the pilot earlier. When this gets leased, will it be a triple net lease?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, thank you. And just a comment, I thought, pilots were in place to attract businesses to the community. And this is here, it's been going on for, it was approved, I think, and we approved special permits in 2020. So I'm just not, again, I'm
There were a lot of other approvals. Those are the town approvals. We've been dealing with, we're still getting permits from DOT. DEP, DEC, we got 5 permits from DEC, DEP's approval. So there was a lot of other approvals we had to get.
okay, yeah, still not sure why I didn't apply, and I don't know the process, but when does year 1 start?
Yeah, before I answer that, in response to your other comment about why we didn't do this sooner, as Mr. Veneziano just mentioned, the entire mortgage tax was paid because this project closed its mortgage piece to this, which was $160 million before making application to the IDA. So the project paid $1.7 million in mortgage tax, which, as Tony just explained, portion of it flows down to the town as well as the county. Since that was done, there was no hurry to apply for this any sooner than a time when all of the approvals had been obtained, and there was a period of time when materials were ordered. And the material, what was happening was as you recall, the price of steel kept going up and going up and going up. So several months ago, it caused the acceleration of the closing in order to take advantage of the sales tax benefit for materials that had already been ordered. In a normal course of things, you're correct. We would be doing a closing, and that closing would be the beginning of when all of the benefits are obtainable. but there's nothing in the law that requires that. So we moved up the timetable to close in order to take advantage of the sales tax benefit for materials that were, that were being delivered to the site. Now, you asked about the timing of this. In the lease with the IDA, there's an outside, quote-unquote, completion date. And the outside completion date is June 30th, 2024. So what happens is the pilot commences under the terms of the lease with the next taxable status date after project completion. So for example, if the project, and this is both phases of it, remember this is a two-phase project, if both phases of the project, or even one phase of the project, let's say was completed by December 31st of 2023, the next taxable status date it would be March 1st, 2024, which would mean the next tax that would be supplanted by the pilot payment would be the 2024-2025 school tax, the 2025 town tax, and the 2025 county tax. And I know your assessor's here this evening, so to the extent that I'm getting her calendar confused, she can, that sounds right. Okay, so that's kind of the timing. We expect, by agreement and by lease, everything's got to be deemed complete by June 30th. So that's the latest we can go before it starts to commence with the next taxable status date. So if we're after March 1st for completion, it'll push that phase to the next year. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So that would be so if it's April 1st, year one of this pilot doesn't start until 2026 for the town, 2025, 26 for the school.
That would be correct.
So then it would be 26, 27. So then the typical pilot wouldn't start until 2028. Like a year one of a 10-year.
Where the benefits are, yes, because the way we've structured this, there's, we're paying full taxes in the first 2 years.
But full tax at $1 million assessment.
Right, based upon, its early stages of construction.
So that would be roughly $1 million assessment for the next 3 to 4 years then.
Not likely, but possibly. I mean, it'll get constructed, it'll get completed. I don't want to speak, but we don't anticipate, June 30 was an outside date. We anticipate that we're going to meet this taxable status date in 2024 for both phases, I think.
Lori, I see you shaking your head. You want to make some input at this point for us? Be helpful?
So I think the spreadsheet that you guys have with the 12-year payouts and estimated values and all that was conservative in the first 2 years because, and I had met with both gentlemen previously. Eric, as you know, we're at 100% of assessment. So as of March 1st, like Dan said, in any given year, whatever is there and built, even if it's not finished, I have to value. So those land values, which is essentially what those numbers are in the first 2 years, is not what they're going to be paying taxes on. It's going to be much more than that. They've got walls up in the first building already.
Okay. Lori, we've talked about pilots a million times.
Yep.
And the way I understand it, the pilot is only applicable to the improvements?
Correct. So the building, not the road improvements, just the walls, the building itself.
And not the land?
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, not the land, not the site improvements, not any expenditures for road improvements, none of that.
Lori, isn't there something, and I'm clearly not an expert, but isn't there something in 485B, like if the assessment goes up more than a certain amount, you've got to do something? So when it jumps from land to building, like, are you going to be able to get the full assessment in or no?
So the pilot program basically mirrors the 485B legislation. If we didn't have a pilot entity like Putnam County IDA, and back in the day we had a town Southeast IDA, then we would be bound by 485B. It's very similar. The bottom line is whatever's out there March 1st, whether there's a pilot or not, they're going to get a full assessment based on what's there. Whether it be land, a little bit of a building, a lot of a building, one building, not the second building, is gonna get valued.
So you're not capped at your increase in valuation at any
Nope.
point in that?
My
Okay.
hands are not tied.
So
Okay.
hypothetically, could year 3 be less than year 1 and 2?
Depending on the numbers, it very well could be, because, let's use round numbers. Let's say both buildings are up, complete, I got them on for 10 million, right?
Right.
They're gonna be paying taxes on 10 million. But the first year of the pilot, they're gonna pay, let's say 8 of the 10 million is the building value. They're gonna be paying based on 4 million and 2 million instead of the 10. So yes, it's, in theory, that's correct. This is unusual where we've never had an entity approach us to pay the full taxes on whatever's there for the first year or two. Normally, they apply within the year that they think they're gonna get their CO. Once the CO is issued is usually what starts the IDA, discounts, benefits, whatever you wanna say.
Yeah, I mean, just from an economic perspective, if I'm thinking of this correctly, I don't know if I see the benefit of year 1 and year 2 if year 3, except for stretching it out, but year 3 could technically be less taxes for you.
Well, year 1 is definitely less. Year 2 could spike.
Right.
But you got 2 years of benefit at the end, so.
Right, yeah, I guess
Yeah, it's like, you're still ahead, but not as much as that might
Right.
reflect, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, it's going, the valuation is, you know, at least the numbers that we had negotiated with the assessor, comes down to an income approach, you know, and as I said, there's no tenants right now.
Right.
So other than the brick and mortar that's standing there, there's not going to be any extra value for revenue, because there isn't, we hope there will be.
Right.
But we don't know that
Yeah,
there will be.
definitely one of my major concerns, and I know now this is conservative and that was helpful, Lori, but, you know, year 2, the assessment's $1 million, there's houses selling right now in town that are worth, you know, or assessed more than that,
So this first building's pretty well along, and when we met with Leslie, we sort of projected getting both of these buildings by the beginning of next year, beginning of March. So, and that's sort of where the client is right now. They're going to get these buildings. There's economies of scale to getting this done. And so if that happens, I think it sort of the 12 years, and there's still no tenants there. So there is some help in the deal.
Did one of you say that Putnam has never done a 12-year before? Was that you, Dan, or?
To my knowledge, I don't know if it has. I mean, there's provision in the UTEP that's been there since 1996 for other types of schedules, but you know, I just don't have enough institutional local knowledge to tell you.
Okay.
Bill?
I don't know of anyone offhand, but the provision is definitely in there for a deviation. And when the board reviewed it for the sales tax portion that we did back in February.
Mr. Nook, I think, just for the record, if you don't, just for the recording,
And
sorry.
just-
And the previous speaker was Lori Bell, the town assessor.
I don't know how many $1,000,001 sites there are in the county either. I mean, some of the
How many what?
sites have 1,030,000 square feet that they're leasing up.
I thought it was
So
900 and change.
It's 1,030,000. And that's sort of relevant to the leasing contract.
Hi, my name is Bill Noak. I'm the chairman of the Putnam County Industrial Development Agency. And we did go through the sales tax portion of the approvals, and we authorized that back in February, at the closing actually in March, I believe. And in that, we said that we were doing this pending the approval, which is what we'd required in our application, of the taxing entities approving the pilot agreements before we'd approve the full pilot for the IDA's purposes. And because of that, I don't know if you folks had gotten to the point where you'd come up with a specific acceptance of it at that point. I know the county was thinking of it, but they hadn't made a formal acceptance. And then the school district sent a memo to us that morning that we had our public hearing, that they have a specific policy that they will only accept a 485B structured pilot. And so it didn't work with the pilot that was suggested at that time. So in our authorization that we did back in February, we specifically said that we would do the sales tax portion now, and we would only accept a lesser value pilot in the final application. And so we have just recently seen, this, and it fits that definition. It's certainly less than what was originally proposed. We thought that the deviation was worthwhile back then, even as it was structured, but we requested and we required the acceptance of each of the taxing entities, so we held off on that.
Bill, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I just like to point out at this point that Albany, which is the ultimate arbiter of these pilot agreements and stuff like that, as far as the legislation goes, they are doing away more and more with this structured 10-year type pilot because of the nature of the way businesses are going now. And we're seeing a lot of 25-year pilots and stuff like that. So we're doing actually a revamping of our current universal tax exempt policy that we're going to be producing and sending out to the various taxing entities this year. And then it will set up a more flexible pilot arrangement that basically will use the 485 structure as a base, but not a ultimate goal, and then it give a lot of flexibility then for other reasons depending on the nature of the business. So that's coming down the road.
I have a question
Yes.
for Bill, if that's okay. So I believe there's 3 impacted entities, obviously county, school, and us.
And the town.
I think we're the least impacted of the 3. Is there a general order of acceptance?
I don't know whether it's close between you and the county.
Southeast is lower than county. I think
Yeah.
we're the only town that is, but
That's okay.
obviously school is the big one.
Yeah,
So
that's-
is there a normal order of who accepts, and what happens if one of the 3 doesn't accept?
Then we don't accept the pilot agreement. It has to be accepted by all 3 entities.
And is there a normal order of acceptance? Like the school goes first?
No,
'cause
in
they're
this
the
particular
biggest?
case, because it's the first time we've actually run into this, but basically, the way I understand it now, we went before the school board to explain our revised concept of a pilot, and they were amenable to the change that was being offered at that point, but their, I guess, statement from the school board, the way I understand it, is basically they're waiting to see what the town and the county are going to do, and then they'll follow that.
That's odd, since they're by far the largest share. but-
Yeah.
Tell them we want to see what they do.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in the middle. But, I mean, that's kind of where we are at this point.
Thank you, Bill.
And just for the record, and I just want to make sure I'm right on this. I believe it was 1 million square feet, but it's now 933 according to the listing. So I think it's 930,000 square feet. Just-
it's 1,030,000.
It's just, it's just under 1 million.
Okay.
I think it's more than 930, but it's under.
On-
I have
on the
1,018,000
listing.
in my head.
One building, I think, is 630, and the other.
630 and 303, according to the listing. But I just want, just for the record, because we
Okay.
get a
Yeah.
lot of feedback from people in the town and that say different things.
I think you're right, you're right.
On the length, on the term, just so you know, Westchester's doing 15 and 20-year pilots, and Rockland just gave us 15, and the city will give you 30. So it's all part of promoting economic development. Because what you're doing is you're trying, if it doesn't go well at the site, and you try to raise the taxes, there'll be grievances, there'll be challenges, and you'll go down that path. This avoids that, gives you certainty with very few services that you are required to provide to the site.
Well, the assessment's the assessment, right? If they'll grieve, you would say they wouldn't grieve because they're getting a pilot?
Right.
And this is going to provide, I mean, that's one of the nice things that it does, is it provides certainty.
But, so you can't grieve the pilot, or are you just saying you don't normally grieve a
You
pilot?
can, but by agreement, we won't.
Okay,
That's part of the pilot agreement.
okay.
Oh, okay.
And any special, all special districts, we pay 100%, there's no discount for those. So I'm not sure,
There's a fire district, I believe.
Is there
There's a fire district, I believe.
Fire, library.
fire, library, water, whatever districts we're in, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you might have a fire districts for the maintenance of the water or whatever too.
Yeah,
but-
any special districts that pay, we pay 100%, this doesn't apply to that. And typically what, the length of a pilot was usually tied into bonding. So there was a time when an IDA, like the county IDA, can act, it still can act as an issuer, but I don't think you guys haven't done a bond deal.
No, it hadn't been profitable until kind of recently.
Yeah.
It's starting to change
So
that.
typically, if you're gonna do a 15-year bond, or you're gonna do a 20-year bond, these are typically revenue bonds that have to be underwritten by a lender, and the lender is always going to insist that the pilot lasts as long as the bond amortization. So that's, a lot of this length used to be tied to bonding.
If the 12 years doesn't go through, does it revert back to a 10-year?
If the 12 years doesn't go through, see, here's the reason, the real reason for the 12 years. If at the beginning, we have an empty building, under 485B, we're gonna be getting our biggest benefit on an empty building, which doesn't make any sense. We need the benefit when we've got tenants in there. They need to show this pilot schedule to tenants. You know, you're talking about trying to bring economic development in. This is where the rubber meets the road. You know, Bob's got to sit down with tenants and say, this is what you're going to be paying. Well, if we go to Poughkeepsie, we're going to pay this. If we go to, you know, Fairfield County, we're going to be paying this. You know, that competition is out there now. And in order to allow this project to remain competitive, that's what we're looking for. And we don't need our biggest discounts or our biggest benefits, so to speak, in the early years when the building may not be full.
Is
So
that-
let me-
Is that
let
why
me-
you asked your triple net?
Yeah.
So let me put it another way. Is it all or nothing? If you don't get 12, you're not going to apply for any other benefit?
We're not going to apply for a pilot, you mean?
Yes.
I can't make that call.
Okay, so if it's not approved as a 12, it's done. You'd have to come
I
back
think
with
what-
another
No,
proposal.
no, no.
He's saying he doesn't know, yeah.
I can't
Okay.
tell you that right now.
We know where the school board is.
Yeah.
We think we know where the county is. And we're trying to figure out where you are tonight.
You're not
Well, how
figuring it out
do we
yet.
know where the school board was if they were waiting for us?
We've been with them twice at meetings. And we've
But
talked to
they'll still
their,
wait
and we've
for
talked
us.
to their council.
I told you- I'll
That's
tell
their
you what the super-
preference.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the superintendent of finance said. They were delirious when they saw the numbers. Because they're
And-
not getting any school children. This site was originally approved for, I don't know, how many houses?
143.
143 houses, 2 kids a house. I mean, here they're getting zero impact to the schools.
And a lot of money.
Yeah, well, they're gonna, 83% of the tax goes to them. Why are they waiting for us? I mean, quite frankly, they have the most to benefit or lose from this, and they should make the call.
Well, they
If-
made the original policy change back when the talk was to have the housing development built on that properties. And that's what kind of scared them off. And then they encoded that policy as part of their operations.
So we think the school, talking to their council and whoever that person was that they're sort of, we think they're going to come around, and this decision shouldn't be that difficult for your board as far as your benefits and what the savings are, and how much this really helps us. So we'd like your help again to sort of start this process, because we've got the IDAs here, we're going to start with the county. What's the meeting with the county?
The
Next.
county has just referred it to committee, from what I understand. We actually went to the school district first for the very reason you stated.
Right.
They've got the most invested here.
And I thought they would just say yay and vote for it.
Right.
Instead, they're like, we don't have to, why should we? I'm like, because you're getting a couple $1 million a year with no kids, how about that?
Well, I mean, they're gonna get that regardless.
And that's the position. So we can all play this chicken thing as if he's got 100% tenant coming in and wait, or you can add some certainty to it. And the idea is that your people, you, the county, and you can sort of expect this money to come in, and you won't have this grievance. I mean, that's the point.
And help this project sponsor in the marketplace, attract tenants.
Because it's getting tighter out there. I mean, we're saying it cautiously, but it's changed, even in the year and a half I'm here.
Rockland just gave us, same client, just gave us 15 year.
Do they have a tenant?
No, it's the same situation.
How many square feet?
220.
220?
It's a much smaller project. but
It's,
still.
Mr. Nuck, is the calculation on this or the support of it related to jobs that it generates?
That's what's interesting about this. This is a different kind of authorization than we're normally used to. Normally, we look at the jobs that are going to be created and stuff like that. But the way this is structured, we're looking basically now at buildings that are going to be available and then hopefully occupied, so we're looking for occupants. And we build in a clawback structure so that if they don't achieve certain occupancies within a structured time, then we take back the benefits and they wind up paying back what we're giving them.
And this developer has experience with this type of product. So, Bob, I don't know what
If you guys could talk into the mic, because I know that it's probably not going to pick it up very well, but.
Yeah, I mean, different tenants have different levels of employment. Everybody's always afraid of, for instance, Amazon. I'm finishing an Amazon in Rutherford. We're not bringing Amazon here. So the number of jobs, the number of automobile parking requirements, et cetera, vary quite a bit depending on the tenant. Some of them are automated. They're racking systems and they're highly automated. They don't have a huge population, and some of them have more. So it does vary quite a bit. And we want to have a successful partnership with the town. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, assets in the community. It's going to be a terrific rateable for the town. We're building it on speculation, right? We don't have any tenants. It's a huge investment. And you can see if you go there, the first building looks like it's up. I mean, the walls are up, the steel and the decking are up, and the second building, we're getting ready to pour the floor slab. So we're making this huge investment, and we want to be competitive with other industrial buildings in the region. Most of them have pilots, and they want the certainty. The tenants want to understand what their taxes are going to be for, certainly the first tenant signing up for a 10-year lease, or sometimes a 15 or 20. They want some level of certainty, so that's why it's really important. And we still think it'll be a terrific revenue generator for the community. If we're not able to get a tenant, if we finish the building and they don't have certainty of taxes, or the taxes are too high, we may not get a tenant, and that doesn't really help anybody.
I just have another question for Mr. Nuck. For the clawback, could you just explain that real quick?
Basically, is if they don't reach whatever the requirements are in the structure that we build, then we require them to pay back benefits. And one of the things that we've required is that there is an ultimate higher authority that is responsible for this entire project. So it's not just, oh my gosh, I can't make any money, I'm leaving. They can't bail out there. Somebody else is going to take and hold the bucket if they don't come through.
So the building owner then is responsible if there's a clawback for not like
Right.
the tenants?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, and I'm going to speak, you tell me if I'm right.
Just come a little closer, if it.
Oh, I'm sorry. The likelihood is that there's going to be multiple tenants. Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, and multiple tenants, as I'm sure you can imagine, are going to create redundancy. So if there's multiple tenants, there'll be more jobs. So we're not concerned about the job generation. We're pretty sure that with multiple tenants, we'll be able to meet the job specifics and requirements, which are not only a policy of the IDA and baked into the documents that we've already signed when we closed. All of the clawback stuff is in there, even with regard to mortgage tax, which we didn't get any benefit, but sales tax benefits and pilot benefits. And it's all required by statute now. It didn't used to be, but now it is under the general municipal law.
Can I just point out that, during our consideration of the entire project, when the IDA was looking at this, we not only looked at the fact that it was a rather nice benefit to the entire area, it's bringing some improvements to an area that's been long underutilized, but it also, the nature of the buildings that are being put up are such that, yes, they're very great for warehouse and, distribution centers, but they're also big open buildings that can be used for other structures. And the world is changing in such a rapid rate that there are different kinds of uses for a big open building that could be modified and used for a building like that. So, like you said, it's going to be multiple tenants that might not be just warehousing and distribution.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I don't want to rehash everything. I mean, personally, I supported the project. I was in favor of it. I agree with some of my colleagues, though, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but that it's the cost of doing business. I don't see some of the improvements that you claim you're doing, like building the road. It's like, oh, you're doing me a favor. It's like, well, that's the cost of doing business, in town. But I also see, I understand that there are other benefits that we will realize, so I don't
Only
live it.
Brewster Yards is piggybacking on our improvements.
Yeah.
Utilities we're bringing down the road.
Yeah, but don't disagree with you, but at the end of the day, this is really mainly for you and, so again, they've asked whether this is a deal breaker or not. In my opinion, it isn't, I mean, you have a lot invested. Again, if we said no today and everybody said no, are you literally going to pack up and go? And I'm sure you can't answer that question or don't want to answer the question, but
There is a consideration that the IDA has to take into consideration, and one of those is but for the benefits, would you build here? And the answer is, the benefits are necessary for us to be competitive in the region. And that's why we
right.
understand that this is why we think it's a productive project for the area, for the business, for Putnam County. And that's why we approved it.
And we did take significant risk building it before going
Right.
through this process. But again, if the buildings can't get a tenant because of the tax situation, it doesn't behoove the community or us.
And I don't want to put Lori on the spot unless I'm misunderstanding. At the end of the day, semantics, I think 12 years, 10 years, 2 up front, 2 behind, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be net zero, pretty much. I don't want to quibble one way or the other. I'm sure at some point there's a benefit. I do like the way you explained it, about trying to get bigger bang for your buck later on, instead of in the first 2 years. And my last question or statement, and Willis isn't here, is would this be considered spot zoning somehow, in trying to do this for you? I think you pointed out, though, Mr. Nuck, that, there is a bylaw or something in the books that will allow us to be able to, instead of 10 years, do 12 or 15. But I also don't want to get accused of, that I'm making special allowances for one builder or versus others.
What spot zoning have to do with this?
Just,
And the deviation has become a common thing, as we've discussed throughout.
So it's not spots, they're using this spots, the concept.
well, the concept, however, maybe
Spot
I'm not
zoning says
articulating it correctly,
zoning, this
but
isn't a
again, we
zoning
have
district.
people will show up here all day long and say, you see, you're always
But
bending over
here's one thing, you
backwards,
still
and
have,
you're
it's a
doing it for
fairly
this-
large project.
You're not going to find too many.
I mean, how many million square foot projects are walking down the street?
Again, I'm not here to argue or debate with you. I'm asking the question,
Can some, I don't have the number. Do you know what the annual tax is to the town if they approve this or if we don't do a pilot?
The variance for the whole thing is
Just do it by per year, just on a per year basis, just about how much?
Well, it's 7.3 in total. I don't have, a calculator, but 7.3 divided by 12 is, I don't know, 800, 700,000 or something. And then 8% of that is minimal, right? But in all the more reason why, if I was an 8% shareholder in a stock, I'm not going to tell the company how to invest or divest.
No, so it's not much to you, but it's holding up, it's something that someone that has 83% of the taxes is waiting to see where you're gonna go.
But that's their choice to win.
No, I understand
That's
that.
what I don't understand, so.
No, I understand.
Nobody wants to go first.
Yeah, no, so why are you concerned about,
Well, we're just asking questions.
Okay.
No one's expressing, we're not voting tonight, we're just
okay,
asking questions.
fair enough.
This is, the certainty here, what's going to attract the tenants is the certainty here. What should be the benefit to the town, and especially the school district, is the comfort of going to sleep at night and not getting a call from the town attorney or the school district attorney saying, oh, by the way, write out a check for this tax cert that's been pending.
Can you just talk into the mic? I'm so sorry. Nothing comes up in the video. We've seen them unless you're standing.
Okay. Remember, one of the beauties of this type of a structure, of a pilot structure, is certainty. It's certainty to the developer, it's certainty to the tenants, but it's also certainty to the town and especially the school district that's not going to have to worry about tax certiorari cases and worry about refunds. I mean, I represent the town of Rye I represent the town of Rye on their tax certiorari challenges. The Blind Brook School District had a 7-figure refund a few years ago that they didn't see coming, that they hadn't budgeted for. It was a 7-figure refund. That's not going to happen here. There's not going to be any refunds that anybody's going to have to worry about because we're going to put this in a box and we're going to forget about it. And at the end of the day, when this ends, the entire value of this is going to go back on the taxable roll. It's going to remove from the exempt roll to the taxable roll, which I just did an IDA project in Portchester. Their whole tax rate for the entire town, the entire village of Portchester, went down. It went down because 3 projects came off a pilot that totaled about $500 million when it moved from the exempt roll to the non-exempt roll. So, you know, the building's not going anywhere. At the end of this stream, it's going to be fully taxable. It's going to be fully tenanted, and it's going to have whatever value it's going to create at that point. So this is a way to assist, as Bob had indicated. We want to work with the town. We want to be your partner, and this is what we're asking because this is what we need in order to try to market this to tenants in the marketplace.
Anyone else?
John?
We're marketing it now, we're talking to people now.
I couldn't hear you, sir. Can you come back here?
We're currently marketing the site, because one of the buildings looks like a building, and it would be a lot easier, with the tenants to be able to say with certainty this is what your taxes would be. But we're not waiting until the buildings are finished to do the marketing.
Okay. We will take all these comments into consideration, and you'll see a resolution one way or the other.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tony, do you expect this to be at the 27th?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
Not going to guarantee it. I'm guaranteed it. Okay. Next portion of work session, discussion, Highway Department update. Mike, you're up.
Okay, where should we start? All right, so far this summer has not really been great for doing anything. The amount of rain that we've been getting, we really dodged a bullet last weekend. A lot of these towns were really devastated, and we were very, very fortunate that we ended up with 0 damage. I had guys out on Sunday. We cleared catch basins. We made sure that everything was going to be fine, and we ended up really not getting the rain. Right now, we finished paving Guinea Road, the last section of Guinea Road before the Orchard. Once the Salingers does their road improvements, we'll be continuing the paving on Guinea Road. Next week, we're going to finish Fields Lane, so Fields Lane will be 100% done. We did Drovers Lane and Acorn off of Foggentown. Our paving schedule is moving forward right now. Next on the list is Allview Avenue and then Argonne Road. We're going to be...
Don't pave all these.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Put potholes in it.
you can't use that as an excuse. When the road is bad, the road's bad.
You're going to get emails.
Yeah,
about it.
you just have to do it.
Actually, I'm like that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but at the bottom of Allview is the worst part. I know it's in the village.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to Dominic, and we're going to actually incorporate that. They're going to reimburse us for
Okay.
that section, so we're gonna be doing that section also.
All right.
You know,
Thank
yeah, we're not, there's just no way that we can, you know, start at the town line and leave that piece down at the bottom, so we're gonna be doing that also.
I expect some emails that you'll be getting, but thank you.
Yeah. The storage building at the highway department is up. The storage building for Zimmer Road at Volunteer Park, I just got a phone call from the people that are erecting the building. That's on the schedule. It should probably be within the next 2 weeks. They'll be contacting me for them to come up and erect that building. So that'll be moving along pretty good. So other than that, everything is, you know, we're really struggling with the weather because of the rain. I just, you know, I mean, I have projects that I need to get in people's yards and fix things, and the ground is so wet that I just can't get there and do it. You know, I've been in contact with the people, you know, they understand, and hopefully, you know, the August and September, we're gonna get some better weather, and we'll be able to continue on with our projects. Any questions?
No, we're good, I'm good.
Thanks for being flexible with our firework
Yeah, I mean.
delays. We're probably
Yeah.
out for Labor Day.
Yeah, that was you know, it is what it is with the weather, but, you know, well, yeah, whenever we reschedule it, we'll just, you know, go do it again, and it'll be fine.
Thank you.
All right, good evening.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Item number 3, discussion of justice-based proportions. Lori? You're up. Adjusted base proportions?
Who has questions?
You need to start at the beginning for me.
All right, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Over the years, different board members have asked me to explain this, or they just go, okay, whatever she said. As you know, after the countywide reval, the town adopted homestead. In layman's terms, commercial properties are non-homestead. They pay a larger tax rate per thousand in their taxes, and the residential is homestead, and they pay a smaller tax rate. Let me just give you an example. Let's say town, county, and fire district is $5 per thousand for the homestead, right? And the non-homestead is probably $8. When you're looking at a school bill, right? The Brewster School District, the tax rate on the homestead residential parcels was like 19 this year, and I think that the commercial were like 25. So you see the rate difference, right? So as a result of that, when you take one tax levy, right, and you're trying to allocate it, if we didn't have homestead, everybody pay pretty much the same just based on their assessment. We have an allocation that we have to make based on the values and then the tax rates and how many entities we have in which category. So simplest explanation is, I did this last year. In terms of number of parcels, about 11% is commercial or non-homestead, and they pay about 35% of the overall tax levy. The rest of the parcels are paying on a homestead basis, and they're paying less rate. So each year, I have the privilege of doing this adjusted base proportions report for the town outside the village, and the Brewster School District. And it's a whole bunch of numbers. It used to take me a week to do. It's a real pain, but that's the simplest answer and explanation. And over the years, since I've been tracking this, I can give this to you if you want. The overall, maybe I should back up. The base that we look at is from 1997 when we first adopted homestead, right? So the rate then, the split was 73 for homestead and 26 for commercial. That was the allocation, right? Now we're roughly 64-35. So that means that over the course of time, the homestead portion has paid less of the percentage of the tax burden than the commercial. So that's my little.
Because we moved from 73 to 65.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. show you one from the minutes.
Thank you.
What drives the change in that split? Is it as one category values are changing significantly different than others? Is
So
it
if you
quantity?
look at the history here, you see that up until about 2020, or 2018, when the market started shifting, shortly thereafter is when you saw that the allocation was a little bit less in favor of the homestead parcels, and including this year compared to last year. And if I had to give you an explanation, I would say that even though we've been adding commercial and values to our roll, it has not kept up with the pace of the increase in the market values of our much larger, say 70, 80% or 90% residential parcels that are all seeing a much bigger market increase. So that's the simplest explanation. I think in the next 2 years, probably, you'll see it start to shift back where the commercial's paying a little bit more because your commercial values are generally pretty steady, whereas your residential market ebbs and flows with the market. It's been ebbing more than flowing.
So let's say a residential homestead, their assessment stays flat next year and our budget stays flat. Does this mean their taxes will go up because the percentage went up?
Well, if their assessments stay flat and our budget stays flat, then the commercial will pick up a larger portion because the commercial will either stay flat or go up, but they pay roughly a third of the overall burden, tax burden.
But if, and I'm not, obviously not saying you're wrong, I'm just trying to understand. If 2022 was 62.66.
Right.
And everything stayed the same, and next year it's 64.36.
In theory, yeah, they could be paying a little bit more, right?
Right,
But then
okay.
again, it depends on the budgets, and we all know that. as
Yeah,
we-
I was saying, if everything's flat, they could be paying a little more.
Yeah, and I've not ever seen a flat,
Yeah,
everything
I get it.
flat.
Yep, okay.
But yeah, it's complicated. I don't even like it. Said if I worked anywhere else, I wouldn't have to deal with this. But it is absolutely to the benefit of our taxpayers, the residential taxpayers. And the commercial, when they come in, they're fully aware that they pay a higher tax rate, which is partially the background to the presentation that was just given. They know that, they're gonna be paying a lot more per thousand of value.
Does that affect the math on this, these proportions? Like a $70 million assessment project comes in?
It's a good question.
I
Yeah,
know we
because it
talked
goes,
about-
it's based on, well, there's two different calculations. So part of the report, you're looking at, say, town taxable, which doesn't include your tax exempt. So these guys wouldn't be part of that analysis because they're tax exempt. At the end of the year, when they are fully, at the end of the pilot,
right.
when they're fully accessible, then that will help shift those numbers back away from the residential. Especially, that's going to be a huge project.
And these are the percentages of the levy.
That's the breakdown, that's the share breakup.
Okay.
And you've got the town itself, including the village, and then you have what we refer to as the town outside the village. So that's another segment, and then the Brewster School District also gets analyzed.
So when that comes on, if this were to stay the same, which I know it wouldn't, the mill rate for commercial would go down, I think, right?
I don't know if that's a definitive correlation.
Okay.
In order to get your mill rate or tax rate, depending on where you're from, you basically take the total assessable in that particular bucket, whether it's your school district bucket or whatever, and then you take the levy for that same entity, let's say the school district, and you figure out how much you have to offset that levy. Now, the majority of this Brewster School District is in the town of Southeast, but there's also a good portion that's in Patterson. So that analysis has to take place for the school district, and the Patterson Brewster School District rate may be higher than the Southeast Brewster School District rate. So,
Okay.
unless I sat down with the levies and the numbers, I really couldn't answer that question affirmatively.
I'm good.
Any more? No? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Laurie. Next item on the agenda is discussion to revise the 2023 fee schedule. After we pass the fee schedule this January, just about a month ago, I guess they reviewed it down to the building department, the planning department, and of course with Ashley Lai, and they made recommendations to change and add 2 items and increase some of the others, and they're explained here. So you want, I mean, I would only read what the changes were. I mean, we all had an opportunity to read it. Is there anyone who has a question about it?
Thanks for sharing the extra detail. You saw I had one question for Will, which I didn't hear back from
No.
yet. But if Will is okay with what was suggested, I'm okay with what was suggested.
Okay, well, we'll ask him that, and we'll add it to the next agenda, unless and if he recommends a change, we'll make the change.
Yep.
Okay. Make a motion to go into the regular portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 1, resolution, Ace Indigo Corporation, 80 International Boulevard, tax map 45.1-29, release erosion and sediment control bond, 2017 site plan amendments. Now therefore it be resolved that the bond amount shall be reduced and established for the project set forth below. Project name, 2017 Ace Indigo amended site plan, parking, $27,400, reduced to 0. And be further resolved that the town clerk be and is hereby duly authorized to cancel and return bond, letters of credit, or cash security heretofore established in connection with the project, and be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary and building inspector forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, a resolution for Ace Indigo Corporation, 80 International Boulevard, tax map 45.1-29, release of performance. Now therefore be resolved that the bond amount shall be released as set forth below. Project name, Ace Indigo, Phase 2 building, $54,000, reduced to 0. And be further resolved that the town clerk be and is hereby is duly authorized to cancel and return the bond heretofore established in connection with the project, and be further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary here, building inspector forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, resolution, Lower Terrace Realty, 250 Route 22, release of erosion and sediment control bond, establishment of landscape maintenance bond, tax map 78.2-34. Now therefore be resolved that the bond amount shall be released, a maintenance bond established for the project set forth below. Project name, Lower Terrace Realty Site Development Erosion and Sediment Control, $8,500, reduced to 0. Lower Terrace Realty Site Development Landscape Maintenance Bond, 2 years, $1,570. And be further resolved that upon posting the aforementioned maintenance bond, the town clerk be and is hereby is duly authorized to cancel and return the erosion and sediment control bond heretofore established in connection with this project. And be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary and building inspector forthwith. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3 is recognition of the public.
Yes.
If you're the public? Good evening.
Hi, my name is Joy Begetta.
So I didn't catch it.
Joy Begetta.
Okay.
Okay. I'm speaking to you as a very concerned citizen who have become familiar with the research done by the New York Citizens Audit, a nonpartisan, all-volunteer 501c3 grassroots citizens education group. The Southeast Town Board has been emailed a copy of the New York Citizens Audit Study and Deficits Report and a customized resolution for an audit of the New York State 2022 general election. All of the New York Citizens Audit raw data was obtained by auditing the New York NICE voter rolls, which is New York State Photo Database, which were obtained directly from FOIL requests to the New York State Board of Elections and New York State Secretary of State official website and all 62 counties in New York State, although 19 counties did not respond. New York Citizens Audit has uncovered massive vote discrepancies and the clear presence of unnatural algorithmic patterns. Some some of what was found in the FOIL requests is that the voter rolls were grossly inaccurate. Unqualified voters are voting, and a number of votes cast the number of votes cast does not equal the number of voters who voted. As an example, the 2020 election found over 338,000 more votes cast statewide than voters who voted. There are over 740,000 ineligible votes cast statewide. Over 2.4 million New York State voter ID numbers were attached to 1.1 million registrants. These extra SBO IDs are referred to as clone voters, which have multiple voter ID numbers. Some have voted multiple times in recent elections. A voter by law is illegally allowed one state board of elections ID numbers. Over 5,000 clones, meaning they have more than one state board of elections ID number, have been found in Putnam County, and many, many more in every county across New York State. The deficits report you have been given shows there are over 1 million felony violations of New York State election law, over 1 million. And 95 state and federal legislative races in 2020 election who are making laws for us right now cannot prove they won based on 740,396 irregular registrations. The 2022 election was run using the same compromised database. The New York Citizens Audit information was recently published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal called the Journal of Information Warfare, and the presence of algorithms in the New York State voter database is now referred to as fact. And those algorithms are in the database as we speak. And by the way, there were more than one algorithms to further convolute the situation. The New York Citizens Audit information was recently I'm sorry, I said that already. All of this information, along with other reports supporting data and informational interviews and information, can be found on the website auditny.com. Thank you.
Could you just repeat did you have Putnam County numbers, did you say in there?
I'm sorry?
I think you had Putnam County numbers in there, can you repeat?
Yes.
It's over
5,000.
Wait, time out.
Over
You
5,000.
had two numbers, I think. Tell me the number you said.
You said something about 1 million too, I think.
Yes. The deficit report you have been given shows that there are over 1 million felony violations of the New York State election law, over 1 million, and
You had something there about Putnam County.
yes. Yeah, here it is. Over 5,000 clones, meaning they have more than one state board of elections ID. So the state board of elections ID is like your social security number. You only get one in the New York
So
State.
5,000, you know what the overall number for
Yes.
Putnam County is?
Yes, have been found in Putnam County.
Okay,
5,000 clones.
5,000, what's the total number of registered?
In Putnam County?
Yes.
That I do not know.
Oh, okay.
So you said the county voter rolls, not all counties have responded to FOIL requests.
Correct.
How many did respond to FOIL requests?
19 did not.
19?
All
out of
others did.
62?
62. 43 did.
Okay.
Okay.
And was Putnam one of them?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to pass the baton.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kevin Murray from New York Citizens Audit, and I wanted to go over so in the package I gave you 2 weeks ago, there was this page. I don't know if you still have. I have copies. If you don't
We have it right now.
You have it. Okay. Right. Okay. So I just want to go over that, and so the three basic tenets of an election: voter rolls must be accurate, votes count must be from qualified voters, the number of votes must equal the number of voters, and the findings, as presented in the attached full report, a study in deficits, was that 2,427,827 New York State voter ID numbers attached to 1,170,790 registrants. 987,490 voters registered on January 1st. God bless. On January 1st from 1900 to 2021. 1.9 million registrations in the state voter rolls, missing from the county voter rolls. 625,359 more registrations than voting age citizens in just 6 counties. 740,396 ineligible votes statewide. 338,356 more votes cast than voters who voted in 2020. 195,271 votes cast in New York City that went missing in the New York State voter database. And conclusions: over 1 million felony violations of New York state election law, 95 state and federal legislative races impacted by 740,396 ineligible votes. The New York State Board of Elections, whether by dereliction of duty or by deliberate malfeasance, is unquestionably responsible for affecting election outcomes in New York. A full end-to-end audit by professionals and possibly law enforcement is warranted. The data sources for this was the New York State Board of Elections voter rolls provided October 21st of 2021. County voter rolls, not all counties have responded to FOIL requests, and a New York State Secretary of State official website. I also, in that same package, I also had included this. It's from a different document, but I like to call it the strange case of Mr. M, and it's from the identity theft document of New York Citizens Audit. It's available at auditny.com. The identity theft document was created kind of with law enforcement in mind, but anybody can have access to it. But and the reason why I included it with this is I wanted this. I thought of it like this summary report with all these big numbers. It's kind of like if you're in a plane or a helicopter, you're looking down at the forest, and you're just seeing all the trees. But this is one of the trees, if you like. So I just want to read a little bit of this one. So I'm just going to read the text. The top part of this says, so Mr. M has 21 registrations with the exact same name, one in each of 21 counties of New York. 20 of these registrations share the same day and month of birth in the same 3 consecutive years, 1979, 1980, 1981. All 21 registrations were made within a month of each other, 18 within 72 hours. Mr. M has 16 unique SBO ID numbers. Many of these are now purged, but each one was active in the rolls for a minimum of 4.43 years. 2 records have no address contrary to election law. Excuse me. One in an art gallery and one in an office building. 3 of Mr. M's addresses have been canvassed by NICA. The first was the Little Valley address, the second was Nanuet, and finally Goshen. In the first 2 cases, the homes were owner-occupied by someone other than Mr. M for decades. Neither homeowner had ever heard of Mr. M. In Goshen, canvassers discovered a housing complex. NICA volunteers spent nearly an hour with the property manager examining records regarding the 20-some residences. Combing over 80-plus previous tenants, they found no trace of Mr. M. Perhaps most significantly, an online canvass revealed that there were only 3 people in the entire United States with Mr. M's exact name, and none of them live in New York. The chance of a random occurrence of Mr. M having 21 voter registrations in 21 different counties without any overlap is 0.0215. So, and actually, if you look on that page, you see, I don't know if you see those, where it says CS next to some of those towns on there. And if you see that, okay. That's something I actually discovered. So what that means, that CS means county seat. So Nanuet was one of the ones that is not a county seat. But Geneseo is the county seat of Livingston. Warsaw is the county seat of Wyoming County. Brewster is not the county seat of Putnam. White Plains is the county seat of Westchester, et cetera. So 19 of those registrations of the 21 happen to be county seats. I think that's how he's doing it. I think that's how he's making sure that he doesn't duplicate 2 addresses within the same county. So actually, they found another 4 for this guy. So he's now up to 25. So I mean, I think if a deeper dive would probably show him in all 62 counties, is my guess. So something like this is clearly, this is not undotted I's and uncrossed T's. This is definitely a fabrication. So it's clearly fraud. So and fraud and I hate to throw the T word out there, but it's treason, really, is what it is. Because I mean, he's stealing from everything. He's stealing from all of us. Whoever this person is, whoever's making up these numbers now, unless maybe we don't know if this is some kid in Guangdong province in China or St. Petersburg or somewhere. But if it's somebody within the system, then it's clearly fraud and clearly treason. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So last time you approached us, you were looking for a resolution.
So what we're doing is we're going to all the towns with a resolution that was in your package as well. Mm-hmm. So a resolution to audit an audit of the 2022 general election, because basically all these things we found in 2020 were not resolved by the time 2022 came around. They went ahead and certified the 2022 election regardless, just like they certified the primary elections that were a couple of weeks ago, and they'll certify the election come next November, and they'll certify the primary next year and the general election next year, right? So that's why we're asking for.
And so, not to cut you off, but so last time you came, I think you had said there were 19 towns.
I think we're up to what? We're
in
23
the state
now?
that had.
As of the 11th, we were up to 24, and I think as of last night, we were actually up to 26, but don't hold me to that. I know we have 24.
Are any of those towns in Putnam?
Yes, one of them are.
Which one?
They don't, they would prefer we not share this, just because we don't want those towns to feel pressured.
Oh, can you go to the mic?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
They would like to keep it quiet as to what towns have, because we don't want those towns to be picked on, but one in Putnam has signed.
If they create a resolution and they passed it,
There would be a record of
public
that.
record,
You could
so-
find it, yes, yes.
Did you visit all 6 towns in the county?
Not yet. We've been to 5? 5 now, I believe. 5. So, and we're still working, like you guys, you're a work in progress. We're back. So,
And, okay,
yeah.
so, and did you go to the county, because the county really controls the Board of Elections.
yes.
So, did you go to the legislature with this?
I went to the district attorney, I brought him our information, I went to some of the county legislators, I gave them our information. I've reached out to be put on the agenda for the county, and they're just not interested. And it's just heartbreaking to me that people are not interested in how our country is being run. What we are asking, the reason that we're coming to you guys for this resolution is we're going to all the, well, you broke my heart when you said how many towns are actually in this state.
930.
But we're gonna get there, because we're not giving up and we're only growing. But we have our work cut out for us. But if we can get a few towns, I believe it's 2 or 3 towns per county, then there's something called a home rule, that then if a few towns in a county tell the county, look, hey, our citizens want this, we've been approached by this, we're interested, can you please put this on your agenda? Then it can make the county put us on the agenda, and we can do a presentation for the county. And then it's kind of out of your hands. You've done your job.
Just to throw it out there, so there's basic two forms of county government in the state. The majority is the Board of Supervisors, and they don't really have a county legislature, and the home rule might apply to that style of county government, whereas this county in 1982, I think, went to a county executive with a separate legislative body. And I don't know if that
So the
home
home rule
rule
may not
would
apply to
apply
Putnam?
to a county like that. So the
Okay.
counties that have board, each town supervisor sits on a board of legislators,
I
and
had
from
heard
among
that, yes.
them, they select the chairman to represent as the executive.
Okay.
So that's a different style. Most of the
Okay.
counties in the state are on that form of government.
Okay.
Because more of them are rural than urban or suburban. But I think that might be where that applies. But
Okay.
I'm just thinking that's where it is. I'm not,
I know
you
that that's
might
what
wanna research that.
that's kind of what our plan is right now, is to try to get the towns on board, because the towns are closest to us. You guys are our closest representative. I can come here and talk to you. I can't really get into the legislator, and I certainly can't get
There's
into the
3
state very
villages in
well.
the county too, if you want to try.
I know.
Yeah, I just don't think, to John's point, that we can compel the county to do anything, and clearly, New York State doesn't care what we think, so.
I understand that, but again, our point of asking you to, I mean, I don't know if you would support this resolution or not, but I'm just, please, in the back of your mind, try to think of 1 or 2 good reasons that you wouldn't support it. I mean, you all do your taxes every year, as I do, and Kevin does, and anybody in the audience does. If you knew you were never going to be audited, and if the whole county knew, or the whole state knew they were never going to be audited, how much decrease in income taxes do you think the government would get if you knew no one was ever watching over your shoulder? That fear of being corrected and being punished is what makes us do our taxes right and obsess over everything and have anxiety right up until you take it to the post office, in my case on April 15th. I mean, New York State has never been audited. The voter rolls have never been audited. They have found, New York Citizens Audit has found that the algorithm, and I believe there's 4, I believe there's 4. The big one is called a spiral algorithm, but those algorithms were placed around 2007. So this is a long time that these algorithms have been in there, and New York State Board of Elections has never been audited. Could you think of one reason that they shouldn't be audited? 1 or 2 good reasons. I mean, I'm open to that. I know.
I'm just even to 2007, so this algorithm's been there since 2007. I just did it in my head. So the federal elections, 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, I count 8 federal elections since that algorithm has been in there.
And look at where our state is going. I mean, the FBI is in school board elections.
That's one algorithm. They've actually found 4, and who knows if that's all there are. You know what I mean? Who knows if they found them.
Yeah.
So,
I want to read a little bit. Go
Can I
ahead.
ask
You
one
had a
more question?
Sure.
I think I asked you last time if you had an idea of what the audit would cost. I don't know if you do now, and just as advice for your cause, the more you can be prepared about what you're asking for, the more compelling your argument might be.
That's a very good point. I will see if I can find that out. I know it is not going to be cheap. I'm assuming it's going to be in the millions of dollars, but I mean, look at the way the government has been spending money. I mean, our citizens are
You just should know what you're asking for.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But again, it's our taxpayer money that would be paying for it. It's us. It's not New York State having to reach into their back pocket. It's the citizens' money. And if the citizens are not being represented at all levels of government, from county, state, federal, it's absolutely worth the money, I believe. But I know we've taken up a lot of your time, and I am very appreciative that you guys have not thrown us out. But I just want to read just a couple quick things. I'll be as fast as I can here. A very important fact regarding New York Citizens Audit information is that our election officials certified provably inaccurate elections in 2020 and 2022. And as Kevin said, in 2022, New York Citizens Audit had notified the Board of Elections in advance, and they still certified the 2022 election anyway. We showed them the facts of how they cannot have a provable election in New York State, and they certified it anyway. And as far as the journal article that we have, what's most significant about the peer-reviewed journal article is that the manipulation is in the New York State voter database right now. That is a scientific fact. That is a peer-reviewed, it's there. The manipulation may explain the inaccuracies found in the voter rolls. It is a total loss of control data breach per cybersecurity experts. It can't be fixed. You can't just amend a little bit. The whole thing is not trustworthy and it cannot be fixed. And New York Citizens, the New York Citizens Audit team is brilliant and their data is solid. I am not one of those brilliant data people, but okay, I just have I'm so sorry, I'll try to go as quick as I can here. In New York State, the NICE voter database and our voting apparatus are part of our critical national infrastructure. New York Citizens Audit has provided evidence that our NICE voter database has been and is being manipulated. The question remains, who is doing the manipulating? Is it foreign interference? Is it domestic? No one knows. New York Citizens Audit was told by a cyber intelligence expert that this manipulation indicates a total loss of control data breach, the most severe type of breach recognized by our federal government. The burden to prove our elections are accurate and comply with the law is the statutory duty of our election officials. The officials who certified the 2022 general election have committed perjury at the very least. New York Citizens Audit information has been given to state and federal officials, the Attorney General, Secretary of State, State Board of Elections, Inspector General, FBI, state leadership of the Democrat and Republican parties, county election officials, sheriffs, district attorneys throughout New York State, and the New York State Police, who felt it was treason, but it was out of their jurisdiction, so they passed it on to the Foreign Intelligence Task Force. We have heard nothing since then. So far, New York Citizens Audit has been met with indifference and inaction. As concerned citizens, we are asking our towns and villages throughout New York State to place statewide bottom-up pressure on our Putnam County and state officials through this resolution for an audit of the 2022 election. We need to place pressure on the New York State Legislature, who are currently working on election law bills to further erode our rights. Our national security, as well as our individual civil rights to transparent, accurate, and provable elections are at stake. We understand that town boards do not legislate to the counties, but your constituents voted for you to be their voice, and our voices are not being heard. Concerned citizens are bringing the deficits report and the resolution to their town boards throughout New York State to support this end-to-end audit. There is no financial liability to the towns, but I don't know the cost to the state. But you guys will not be financially responsible. It will be funded at the state level. And as of July 11th, there are at least 191 requested resolutions in 35 counties, and 25 have been signed to support the end-to-end audit, with more to come. Every week we get more. We know this situation is not of your making, nor does the Southeast Town Board have the authority to correct it. As our local representatives, we are asking that you adopt this resolution and push it further up the line to the legislative bodies that can correct it. This is the only way we, the people, can be assured that our voter rolls are corrected and will guarantee we have accurate and provable elections in the future. So we're hereby asking the Town Board of Southeast to vote yea in support of this resolution for an end-to-end audit. A refusal to commit to a vote or a refusal to place us on the agenda at a future meeting, if you need more information, will end up being considered a nay vote. I have two more quick things to leave you with. I was taking a course through Patriot Academy this spring, and Rick Green, I don't know if any of you have seen the Patriot Academy videos, but they're fantastic, and what you can learn about your government is amazing. But Rick Green from the Patriot Academy stated something to the effect of, which are you, a patriot or a politician? A politician is concerned about the next election, and I understand there's one coming up and it affects you guys. I get it. I lost my job with this whole COVID mess. I understand not wanting to lose your position. But are you a patriot or are you a politician? Politician is concerned about the next election, and a patriot is concerned about the next generation. So, and the last quote from Edmund Burke, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. So I'm asking you, please, step up for your country. I understand your jobs, I get it. I ripped my heart out losing mine. But our country literally is at stake. If throughout this nation, if we go to the 2024 election with these corrupted roles throughout all the states, and our chief data analyst has found similar, not identical, but similar algorithms in other states throughout this country. They're in, I think, 48 states at least. What have we got? We don't have much left. So please, I'm asking, please, the resolution, just a little pressure on the county, and then your job is done. Please, and thank you for giving us all the time.
And thank you for
appreciate it.
taking the time.
Any questions?
Nope. No question.
Thank you.
No. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, at the very least, at least you're putting the state on notice, you know?
Yeah.
So, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Oh, I had a quick comment, I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this, but the town firework, or well, actually, they're not town. The firework show was canceled, and I think we're rescheduling it for, Sunday,
3rd.
September 3rd. Yeah, it's not a town program, but just wanted to, let everyone know.
And if anyone watches this before Saturday the 15th, the town's having their first shred day at the highway department. It runs from 9 until noon or until the truck is full.
And did you want to mention the banners again, please?
We finally got all of our permits in place for the Veteran Banner Program. Hopefully the highway department will start hanging them later on this month.
And
So,
again,
more to
thank you
come.
for doing all that. It was a Herculean effort.
Thank you, John.
That's it.
Anyone else on the town board? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Seconded by,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.